Welcome to Talks with Tawanda, from existing to living in God's grace, the podcast for healing, hope, and hustle. I'm Coach Tawanda, a personal development coach, author, speaker, a survivor, with a mission to help you release shame, own your story, and move into purpose. This is a safe space for deep conversation, life lessons, and real change. I'm excited to have you join me today. Born into this world on January 18th, 1981, in the city and state of Mobile, Alabama, was the unwanted but adopted by God. A seed with potential, a seed that was thick with strength, courage, grace, and purpose. Unwanted because of timing of my parents, young and already having two children. I could only imagine the fears behind another child. Because of my mother's age, she was not wanting more children. She had two already, and that was enough. And I can understand that. And the fact of drugs and alcohol played a big role in my parents' life, which also led to my father's being abusive to my mother, cheating and leaving her to care for their children on her own. My father leaving my mother at the age of me being two left resentment and anger, and maybe even shame for my mother. As I got older, I was able to really understand those moments, what they could have been like a little bit more. But I will tell you that while sitting in the midst of it, while sitting in the young tender age of it, I'm not really having clarity or understanding. It set different in the way that it was portrayed, the way that I received, it was hurtful. As I got older, is when I realized that, hey, she was hurt. So I understand what it seems like and what it looks like. And when people say hurt people, because that's what was left with me. As I stated, with my father leaving my mother when I was two and she already having other children, that left resentment and left anger. And that was shame that was in there. I can only imagine the hurt that she felt, the frustration, lack of understanding to what was truly going on in her own young life, wanting to be trusted and trust and wanted to be loved and loved, but feeling far from it caused her feelings to run over on me. I often think that I received the anger that she should or had towards my dad. I was her resentment of him. But being young, lacking education, and looking to be loved herself, my mother reacted as to what she knew. She hid her pain from her own abuse, acting off emotions, and that is what led me to being abused. Where I, for a long time, thought my mother was evil and hateful, as I grew older, God allowed me to see that, too, she felt alone and abused, wanting someone to love her, but instead left with feeling misused. How was she to lead me if she was blind herself, not dealing with her own self love, but trying to love someone else? My mother kept us with a place to stay and even food to eat, but she never knew how to heal from her own pain, and it caused her to feel weak, which reflected on her seed. Unwanted is what you'll feel after many times of hearing that you was the child that wasn't supposed to be here, but because of the failed birth control, or hearing your mother say she did not even think that you belonged to her. Young tender ears hearing such words from the one that's supposed to love you. How else was I supposed to feel other than but unwanted? To feel like the unwanted seed leads you to think that life is just a joke and your existence is a big accident, until later learning about God's purpose. Many moments I thought God didn't hear my cry, thinking my prayers was going unanswered. Maybe the God they say that was also mine did not love me. Was I really in this life alone? We'll just have to wait and see. Reminded of you. I used to always hear you say, I reminded you of yourself. Thinking about it, I must ask, did you really love yourself? Because if I reminded you of you, why couldn't you not love me? To tell me, which I hardly heard, was one thing, but to show it told the truth. You not properly loving yourself made you not properly love me, to nurture and teach and just love me. It had allowed me to live and think it was okay when it was not, confusing what love should be and what it should look like. What made you not love it? What made you not love yourself? Because beautiful you are. I wish the weight that others put on you would not have hardened your heart. Why do you think that you are unlovable? Because when I see you worthy to be loved is what I see. But then I realize beauty is from within and it's something you feel, not just see. I just wish you had loved yourself more. Then maybe you could have properly loved me. I love you, Mom. Where the age of my parents will I not try to neglect, without understanding to them being young, it still cannot cover or dismiss my story, my life, my existence. I will only share my truth, the feelings that was buried in my heart and played heavy on my mind. As you see, this is the beginning of me. What brought on my existence and what started me feeling the way I feel in a lot of ways going through life. This beginning was important to me to reflect on because it allowed me to understand the woman that I am today. It allowed me to be able to maneuver and play, not play, but be ready for the game that the enemy had to play. I had to take into some understanding because for many years, the hurt and the pain that I felt and that I was holding on to, I held on to them just based off my feelings, based off my emotions, and based off my knowledge, on my experience. But then when as I got older, I started looking at things different and I started looking at them from the perspective of my parents, looking at them for the things that's around me and looking at their life. I had to understand that, hey, they gave what they could. For me, it does not erase the pain. It does not erase the things that I went through, but it does help me to be able to deal with them differently because going through life thinking that, a person is intentionally trying to hurt you or intentionally trying to damage you or whatever the case may be, it is different. It's a different feeling than knowing that, hey, it happened, but it wasn't intentional. And where one could say one's action is intentional when they don't change. But what about with the moments when they can't change? Because they don't really know how. Or they've dug themselves so deep in unforgiveness and hurt and pain to where they don't even know how to allow themselves to pull back the curtain and see the sunlight. I was part of this life because it was something that I needed to be able to do for God and His purpose. And where it may not make sense to many others, it makes sense to me. And it took me a moment to get there, understanding that when I look at my parents and I look at their life and I look at what my life was because of it, it is a bittersweet moment. It's bittersweet because I wish that I had them more. I wish that I had more of a connection with them. I wish that I had been able to feel more love for them. And it has nothing to do with financial. It has everything to do with emotional. It has everything to do with the actions of love. And that would have been and made a bigger difference and impact in life. But hey, here's my story. That's not quite what I had. But living through it and surviving through it, my life path, I'm glad. I try to rhyme there, y'all, a little bit. But no, being serious because it's me. But no, honestly, I'm grateful because if it had to be my life, I'm okay with it being my life, knowing that I learned something out of it, knowing that that was a greater purpose than what I thought and what I saw. If it had to be my life, I'm okay with it because the trials and the moments that I went through in life, it just made me stronger. So I can only imagine there could have been things that could have went so much different and better, and it could have led a different path in life. But am I not to be okay with how life turned out? And I think that it turned out different and made a different path because I chose to look at it different. I remember when I wrote my book, and this is part of why I wrote the book, Where Does It Really Hurt? Because as I was living through life and going through certain things, entering into different relationships and the views and the thoughts that I had of myself, I had to realize, like, wait a minute, where did this come from? And so I had to travel back. I had to travel back to find the location of where it really hurt. Because sometimes what seems to be in front of us is not really the issue. It's just part of the root of the issue. It's a stem of the issue. So why not go back and travel and get to the root? So I talk about that in my book, Where Does It Really Hurt? just kind of understanding it. And what it did for me was it allowed me to step outside of myself, to put myself in a position to see my parents. And then that allowed me to have compassion for them and understanding when you look at life and you look at the world and you look at pain and hurt that people carry. So no different than me, carrying around hurt and pain. I just got to the point in life to where I was willing to let go. I was ready to let go. And my parents didn't reach that point before I was able to do so. So generational curses, it came and it came to be broken through me because that was something I needed to do different. Even to this day now, rest in peace, the soul of my dad. But my mom, she is still here with us. And still to this day, I see her and I see the pain that she still allows herself to sit with from many years ago, continuing to beat herself up about something that she's choosing not to let go of. I am grateful. If this had to be my path, if this had to be my story to tell, I'm okay with having to live it. I'm okay with having to experience it. And I'm okay with having to be the one to overcome every obstacle that came my way, to bear every pain and every scar with pride, knowing that that is just the beginning. That is just not how my story will end. I am so grateful to be able to share my story with you. And as I prepare myself to share more, I want you to prepare your heart and your mind. So if there's anything in your life, even if it's starting back from childhood, because sometimes that's the beginning for us, that's where pain really starts. It's some things in there to go back and forgive. It's some things in there to go back and really look at and take account of, because it really will help you to be able to live the life that you really desire to live. Don't allow yourself to sit in the pain of your past. Don't allow yourself to not allow the wounds to heal. Don't allow yourself to not accept the truth of who God said you are, sitting in what other people expected you to be. I love you. I love you. I love you. And you make sure you have an amazing, amazing day on purpose. May healing continue to be with you.